I've been watching your ass for 3 fucking years, and I just went to the fucking doctor and he told me I'm gonna have a fucking grabber. Piece of shit, you've been steering me wrong this whole time. My cholesterol's off the fucking charts. He had to call his buddy in and say, look what this asshole did. Calm down. I know. There are some of you who this has happened to. And in the face of the fact that I am about to go get my blood work done, probably the first time since I've been 100% no cheating fucking keto for quite a while now, I am anticipating certain results which the doctor may think I'm going to fucking die and need to be put on some kind of medications for. But through my research, and there'll be a link to a very good talk on this in the description that I'll highly recommend. I'll go over it a little bit as we go. But I just want to go over some things I've uncovered in my research when it comes to the blood lipid profile. Now, for the past 40 years, we've been told that cholesterol is the enemy and, we need to keep it down and all of that, and there are some truths to it. You want a higher HDL, not a lower one. That is a fact. That has been correlated scientifically to heart disease. If you have a low HDL, you're at greater risk for heart disease. It's more in relation to the amount of triglycerides. Now, when we think about LDL, and I take, a lot of this from the video I've linked in the description, so that you definitely should watch it. But LDL is a vehicle to deliver two things to your body. Lipids, i.e. triglycerides, for your muscles to use for energy, and cholesterol, to do some patchwork when inflammation's out of control. Amongst other things. That's oversimplification, but for the terms of what most people are worried about, those are the two functions. And much like you don't want a high blood sugar, you do not generally want a high triglyceride number. It's been demonstrated repeatedly that a ketogenic diet lowers triglycerides in pretty much everyone that's on the fucking diet, unless you have some other issue that's causing problems. But understanding that if your triglycerides are low and your HDL is high, then you are pretty much at a lot lower risk for heart disease is the key to not panicking, because there are some things that the doctors haven't caught up with yet, science-wise. And they're still operating that diet heart hypothesis. How'd that work out for us for the past 40 years? Have we conquered heart disease since we went low fat? Fuck no, we haven't. In fact, most people, their LDL has risen, their fucking triglycerides are out of control, and their HDL, the good cholesterol, if there is such a thing. I think all cholesterol is pretty good, but I'm pretty sure the HDL, the transporter, being lower, is bad for us. Yet, if you look at a fucking standard American diet, blood lipid profile, that's exactly what's happened. And we have all kinds of triglycerides because we're not burning them. We're overstuffed with energy. We're overstuffed with glucose. We're overstuffed with fat. on the standard American diet, you're over-consuming every energy form there is because you have a broken metabolism. You have a broken hormonal system that's supposed to regulate all that shit so you don't have to fucking think about it. Yet we've done fucked that up. And when we go and fix it and we're feeling great, our weight's dropped, our blood sugars are normalized, we are looking and feeling better than we have for fucking 20, 30 years, and then we go into that doctor and he looks at that LDL and the total cholesterol number and says, "Holy shit, you're in the red zone. I recommend statins," which only fix 3 to 8% of patients' issues. Mainly a symptom treater, not a cure. And the rest, everyone else, and in the meantime, it fucks you up in many other ways. You can just watch your latest statin commercial and they'll run down all the things that it does bad for you. And, that to me is an indicator. If I go in and the doctor's running me that statin spiel based on numbers I know as a ketogenic, fat-adapted person are going to be a certain way, then, I'm going to be like, okay, he doesn't know his shit. I'm going to take his little script that he might write and be like, that's my personal decision. I am by no means advocating for all of you to do that. I'm talking about me here. I know my situation. I know my science. I know my proof. And I have enough evidence, in my opinion, to make that decision. By no means should you watch this fucking video and do the same thing. You should watch this video and start asking questions and go out there and find the knowledge. Start out with that link in the description, but you can Google your way into a rabbit hole of the lipids system, much like the guy in that video did. He's not a doctor either. He's a software engineer who likes statistics, who did very good self-experimentation and included some people in these little short experiments he did. I, concur that we need longer trials of this nature and more proof. And there's probably a lot out there that I haven't discovered yet, as I've just started to dive deeper into the lipid system. But understanding that basically, HDL and LDL are vehicles to deliver energy to our bodies. And the gist of the video, for the too long, I don't want to fucking watch a big, long, nerdy lecture crowd, is when you're in a fasted state, your LDL rises, but your triglycerides fall. The cars, the trucks with the fucking cargo, there's more of them, but there's not as much shit in the back to deliver because you're using it. Demand is high when you are fasted, when you aren't consuming a lot of fat. And this guy proved that if he went from 3 days to a fat fast, from judging from the numbers, or a complete fast for 3 days, he was able to determine that LDL went up, triglycerides fell. And then he did a overfeeding of saturated fat and other fat. I think it was neighborhood of 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. Monitoring complete with labs the whole time. Multiple times. Multiple blood draws. He was able to figure out that he was able to lower LDL cholesterol by overeating fat. Because you're getting all this fat coming in, we don't need to send the trucks out to deliver what we got on board anymore. He also cites some things that I'm kind of new to as far as localized fat. As in you have subcutaneous fat near muscle, that turns out to be a pretty big source of energy. That's the first time I stumbled across that in my research. And I'm going to look more into that there's a certain ratio of energy. And insulin resistance and all of that fucks this whole thing up, this whole equation. And he illustrates it perfectly, so I can't recommend this video enough. It should have 100,000 views, not 10,000 or 12,000 or however fucking many views it had. But it's a lecture. A lot of people don't have the patience for that shit. So we just really got to understand that what we've been told about cholesterol has been wrong. It's been proven wrong now. were unable, despite millions and millions of dollars being spent, maybe even $1 billion at this point, to prove the diet heart hypothesis that saturated fat causes heart disease. Our heart disease kept going up, even no matter what we did with the low fat, high carb bullshit. And we ultimately ended up with a high fat, high carb diet, which is where we are today. And not animal fats, for you vegans out there who are fapping right now. No, we're talking vegetable oils. You know, they're not cooking at the restaurant with animal fats. They're not. They're using the cheapest shit that they can find. Vegetable oils, which our body doesn't handle well. We get inflamed, and that's where that little, low-dense LDL drops off the cholesterol in your fucking arteries and builds that shit up. That's because we're inflaming the arteries by consuming vegetable oil. And it's in every fucking place you go. Restaurants, fast food places, processed foods. You even go into the fucking supermarket and buy a bag of nuts, and they add, like they needed to add fat to nuts, they add vegetable oil to the mix. Avoid that shit. If you see any kind of oil on your fucking, nuts in the healthy section of the store, put that shit back and find some without any of that crap in it. So the bottom line is I've gotten comments in the past, and I know I will get them in the future, about, dude, I'm worried my LDL rose. There's not any definitive studies that I found. If you found them, by all means, submit them on the research page on ScottTheTruckDriver.com or put them in the description or into the comments of this video, and I'll go ahead and give them a good read. Also, if you find any good summary lectures on the subject. I could use a more watch list on the lipid system. But as far as I can tell, there's no long-term hardcore studies of fat-adapted people, their lipid profile, and their risk of heart disease. I don't know that there's a study that accomplishes that yet. We need one. Hello, scientists and shit. Let's get to work. Let's stop trying to prove carbs are good and start seeing, just how healthy we are. Because I'm not, under some illusion that the ketogenic is the best diet in the world. It's certainly a far cry from what our ancestors ate, because the foods available are mostly still factory produced and have a lot of issues other than the basic metabolic disease issue, and I don't dispute that. I don't have perfect gut health. We're just now sticking our, the tip of our penis in the realm of fucking gut health, so to speak. That went a little too far. Probably got demonetized for that. Go to ScottTheTruckDriver.com and put a tip in the tip jar so I can keep saying that shit. So we're just now exploring gut health and experimenting with it. There's all kinds of ongoing gut microbiota studies, and there's a lot of science there that says, hey, we probably are fucking that up too. And I don't pretend to know massive amounts. I just kind of know that if I eat healthy enough, my gut should do what it's supposed to do for that environment. Our gut bacteria is going to adapt, for good or for bad, to whatever eating environment we are in. And even if you're keto, you are still, anybody that goes shopping trying to be keto, anybody that goes out to eat trying to be keto, anybody that goes to your mom's house trying to be fucking keto is going to run into that issue of you're going to slip and fall into some bad food, some shit that's not healthy for you. And there's plenty of unhealthy ketogenic foods. I don't dispute that either. Is it still healthier than standard American diet? Of course. Yes. I'm not here to have a big measuring contest with the fucking vegans on this. They claim theirs is the best. And of course U.S. News says, hey, U.S. News and World Report says, hey, that's the worst fucking diet. You're going to fucking die. Here, do the same shit we've been telling you to do for 40 years, because that's better. Go and get some fucking sugar-laced cereal for breakfast. You don't want no eggs and bacon. That shit's bad. That's unsustainable. Nobody wants to eat eggs and bacon for breakfast like we did 50 years ago pretty regularly, like my grandparents used to all the time, ever since I remember growing up. I was the one bitching. I don't want bacon and eggs. I want fucking Lucky Charms and Trix. Assholes making me eat bacon and eggs. Don't you know that shit's bad for you? We are all caught in this whirlwind of fear, driven by media, driven by government, driven by the medical community, that keeps us in these hamster wheels of spending shit tons of money on medical costs, unsustainable levels of health insurance as far as financial burden. Tons of people suffering and dying for the last 20 years of their life with way lower quality of lives than our elderly ancestors used to go through. And we're not even going that far back. You know, yes, there's always been sick people, but we have a lot of them now. And we're dying a lot lower or a lot quicker than they did. They were outliving, as they progressed, the previous generation. For the past 2 fucking years, our life expectancy's going down. We need to fucking wake the shit up. All right? We need to stop and start learning for ourselves and thinking for ourselves, making decisions for ourselves. Not letting, weigh what your doctor tells you. Go out and do some reading. If the doctor's telling you something and you're not sure or you're scared, it is your job to go out and learn everything you can on that subject. Or just let it kill you. Those are the options. I'm of the way of thinking of saying, hey, go out there and learn. Learn everything you can on the problem that you're having. And then, on your own, decide what to do about it and try it. And it might not work. Your interpretation of the data may not work. And then you reevaluate. You figure out, okay, maybe this part of it worked, but that part of it didn't work. So what do I do about the part that didn't work? And this has been my approach for the past 3 years. I started out, I'm going to fucking eat less and move more and shit. And this sucks, it's not working. Okay, I'm just going to stop moving more and I'm just going to eat less often. Holy shit, that was way better than pounding the fuckmaster. I lost the same amount of weight. And then it gradually became little, big results, as a whole, but there's these little problems I kept running into, and hunger was the biggest one. Hunger is the one thing that drove me to keto. Because I knew I wasn't supposed to be hungry. If I was doing everything right, I knew enough about the hormone system, the endocrine system, that if everything was good, I should not be hungry. Hardly at all, unless I legit didn't eat for 4 days or 5 days. We're leaving out the mental addiction of food and all of that other bullshit. That's a whole other subject. And it is a very significant part of this that I have had to address in my life as well. Another problem. Another small problem in the grand scheme of things that maybe doesn't let you get all the way there. You come a long way, but then you get stuck. And then you have to look at why you got stuck. And then you have to go out and find out everything you can about that particular thing. And we're fortunate enough to live in this age where we're being listened to, watched, and studied, and cataloged, and all of our data is just being stored and given to us through the fucking internet. We're voluntarily telling the internet everything. So use that resource that we've never had and throughout human history. It was always word of mouth and shit. Now, word of mouth is just like that. So, the bottom line is, do your homework. If you are experiencing high LDL, and I do anticipate when I go in, because I will go in with their little fasting rules, which will raise my LDL, as per the guy in the video demonstrating. I know my doctor might raise an eyebrow, but I know that before he even gets a chance to look at the results. That's at the end of the month. We'll get to that when the time comes. Just do the best you can to learn everything you can before you make your decision. And don't do it based on this video. You should just start researching based on this video. But what the fuck do I know? Because I'm not an expert. In fact, some people point that out in the comments. Why would I listen to you? You're just a truck driver. And your beard is gray. And you're bald and shit. Your teeth are shit. Fuck you. I'm going to go listen to my doctor because he's doing a good job. Got me on statins and everything. I'm not a fucking expert. I'm just an asshole. And I just want to get you thinking. That's my job. To get you thinking about how you can fix these things that you've been living with your whole life. Sometimes you don't even aware how bad you feel until it's gone. And I was definitely in that category. I wasn't aware how bad things got until I fixed them. And that is what is important. And it's not an easy journey. There's a lot of battles to be fought. And I've been doing it for 3 years now, and I gotta say, I've come a long way. I still have a little bit of ways to go. Some would argue I'm already there and I should just shut the fuck up and be happy. You know? But there are some little things here and there about my health I'm not happy with. I still carry a little bit of a belly. I don't like having a little bit of a belly. I want it pretty much normal. I don't want any overhang. I don't want the loose skin action. You know, and I'm going to work on those things. The only ways I know how. Through research. Through trial and error. And eventually figuring out what works. But I think I'm locked in health-wise. If I were to just do what I'm doing now for the rest of my life and just be happy with the way the scale is and keep my fucking belly under 36 inches, then some would say, okay, it's time to relax. You got there. But there's a fine line between relaxation and complacency. And you can easily fall off the rails and go all the way back up to that fucked up way we were if you're not vigilant. So I won't ever give up being vigilant. And you shouldn't either. Once you've accomplished these things, you don't get to say, oh, I can go back to eating pizza now. I did it. Mission accomplished and shit. Not how it works. Not if you want long-term health. You can use this to get thin short-term, just like you can go and pound the fuckmaster 6 days a week for 2 hours a day and get there. But eventually you're going to stop. And you're going to come back up. And it won't even be voluntary, usually, why you stop. It'll be something in your life prevents you from doing it. Job, time, family, problems. There's all health issues. There's all kinds of things that can keep you from pounding the fuckmaster. But I don't want to turn this into that video. But needless to say, do the best you can with the knowledge that we are able to have. And there's a lot of bullshit that comes with that knowledge that we have to sort through. And some of you might even be watching this thinking, this guy's fucking bullshit. That's fine. But at least I got you thinking. And you'll probably go out and try and find knowledge to prove that I'm bullshit. And maybe in that process, you'll enlighten yourself and make the changes necessary in your life so that when the doctor looks at you and says, I'm going to put you on this fucking destructive drug that you're going to have to be on the rest of your life, that you can look at him and say, no thanks, I'm good. I'll take my chances with diet and the things I know and the things I've learned and the things I've done to improve my health that you had nothing to do with, Mr. Doctor. The same doctor looked at me 4 years ago and said, you're fat. Eat less and move more. He didn't do shit. He'd been telling me that for years. In the beginning, I was just like, fuck you, I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm big and beautiful and shit. In fact, I almost died as a result of him declaring me just fat and needing to lose weight. It was a cyst in my back, causing excruciating back pain. It burst, became infected while I was in Florida. I drove from Florida to New York with a hole in my back. It became infected. I got treated on IV antibiotics and a whole lot of painkillers and survived. But they said 2 more days and that would have been that. That would have been like a medieval wound, that festered and went bad. It's pretty fucking gross. Kind of regrets sharing that with everybody. But oh well. That's why you guys watch. Please like and subscribe for more shit. And I'll make more shit. Also, if you found this video helpful and valuable and want to help me make more videos and spend more time on the channel, there's a virtual tip jar in the description. Go to ScottTheTruckDriver.com. Multiple ways to help support the channel there, even if it's just reading the blog. All of these things help. Buying the podcasts, which I'm producing another one by the end of the weekend. I'm a little behind. So check that out. Links to that are in the description as well. There's an Amazon recommended product page for any time I endorse something or talk about a product that I think would help on your knowledge, to help further your knowledge or your life, or just shit that I think's cool. It'll be on my recommended product page. Link to that's in the description. The link to the video that I'm talking about, that this guy, biohacker, I would call him, solved his problem because he's a hyper responder. That is also in the description, and I highly recommend watching that. I'll even play a little clip from it right now.
But I was so confident on the inverse pattern that at the Ketogenic seminar where I gave this on October 9th, I had already taken my blood 2 days earlier on October 7th. And I said to everybody there, I bet my reputation, everything that I've got, on the fact that when I take my blood tomorrow on October 10th, it's going to show a massive shift in cholesterol going down. And they watched me through the conference as I was chowing down steak and butter and a DAP meal and all kinds of things that were high fat, so that basically I was able to reach having first low and then hitting about 461 grams of fat each day through the conference. So what happened to my cholesterol? Gorging on all of that fat, 274 grams of it being saturated. My numbers dropped. My total cholesterol dropped. These are all converted for you fine folks. My LDL-C dropped by 1.9. My LDL-P dropped by 1,115 points.
So he's going over the entire system and why and how it works. It's his hypothesis, but he has done experiments to try and prove or disprove it, and has proven that correlation I was telling you about earlier. So I can't recommend it enough. Watch that guy. I'm going to be looking for more from him too, because he's pretty much doing some self-funded experimentation that no one else is going to pay for. He's going just like me with this channel and patrons and Patreon. He's doing the same thing to fund his research as well. So help him out too if you value what he has to say. Gonna be going live Friday, tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the official announcement. I'll post it sometime between now and then. I'll put the event up. Probably going to be a minimalism theme, as I am trying to address that part of my lifestyle, and I want to talk about that a little bit and kind of take it away from the diet topic for a little bit. And some plans for the year, and then of course Q&A, which will be open to any subject that you guys come up with to talk to me about. So that'll be tomorrow. So thank you once again, and remember to have a nice motherfucking day. And don't panic. Don't worry, I'll share my fucking blood lipids profile so that you guys can critique it appropriately. Once I get the results, I'm going to see if I can get it printed out and shit. Wonder if they charge extra for that. Wouldn't surprise me. It's probably $20 a printout. I'm gonna stop now before I knock my lights over and shit. Working in a small room I'm making it more efficient, but yeah. Green screening like a pro and shit. Have a nice motherfucking day! Also, one last thing before we go. I just signed up for Snapchat and shit. And I'm going to let all of you be able to Snapchat my ass. Doesn't mean I'll always Snapchat back. You'll see if I watch them. I'm investigating it as a means for you to be able to contribute to the podcast. So ask questions, send me random shit, make me laugh, make me cry, tell me I'm a piece of shit. Whatever it is you need to do via Snapchat, you can follow me. The link or my Snapchat name will be in the description, but just to save you some time, my Snapchat name is Scottandshit. All one word. Scottandshit. So, look forward to seeing you guys on Snapchat. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to be a millennial and I just don't know it. But it's an experiment. I might delete the motherfucker, so don't get too invested in it. So, there's that. You thought this video was over and shit, didn't you? You probably already stopped watching, so you missed out on the whole Snapchat shit. Alright, now it's really over. Have a nice motherfucking day. Again.